A very good afternoon to all the viewers of Literati 2020. Today we are joined by Mr. Shayamal Valabhjee and Miss Shwetambari Shetty. So welcome to you, sir and ma'am, from the whole team of Chandigarh Literary Society.
Thank you.
Thank you
It
so
is
much,
such a
ma'am.
pleasure. It is such a pleasure to be even sharing the screen with two such legendary people, I would say. Some people who have done so much in the field of fitness and well-being. So it's a pleasure to be in conversation with you. I have been told that I have 40 minutes with me. If you ask me, I could do a 1 hour podcast with each one of you. But we will use the time judiciously and I won't waste any time and I'll get straight away to the questions. So the first question that I have is about the activity that all humans do most oftenly in a day, which is eating food. So I think most of us we eat food at least 4 to 5 times. Some people have small meals, so they eat 6 to 7 times. So what I want to ask here is that I speak for both millennials and the Generation Z. I am in my 20s right now. So what I can say is that we are all victims of very smart marketing done by MNCs where we are not eating food from home. In our generation, eating food from home is very less. It's more common to Swiggy it, to Zomato it, and I mean, we are just addicted to it. And just about 1 year ago, I got to know that sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine. And I was very surprised to know that. And just a few weeks ago, I got to know that Subway is in the business. I read an article that said that Subway does not sell breads; it sells pastries because their breads have so much sugar that it is almost like a pastry. So these big brands, these companies, they are injecting sugar in everything, even in a salted pack of chips, and we are victims to this. So how do we convince ourselves when it is so easy to Zomato something or Swiggy something? How do we convince our own minds to eat something healthy, to make it and eat it rather than just swiping on our screens and waiting for the food to come? Shwetambari ma'am, we can start with you, and then Shamal, so you can also share your views on this.
I was really hoping you said, Shamal can go first because with food, right? I think the mind plays the most amount of, like the mind does all the work. This is what I personally believe, and I have experienced it all my life. Um, I am, I love food. I eat a lot. And I have transitioned over the years from being a non-vegetarian to a vegetarian, from eating, out to eating only at home and to eating a lot of only fruits and vegetables to eating only when I'm hungry. Okay. Now that
Wow.
transition has happened over the years. And it has changed my life in more ways than I can even, tell you. Like it's made me, I feel like I'm aging a lot more gracefully. I feel like I'm feeling a lot more high performance through the day when I start my day with a certain type of meal. But all of this, right, Anshuman, I think you only have to experience, right? First, it is, of course, who doesn't want to eat, a cupcake or anything that's high sugar? We all love it to some extent or the other. And we also want convenience, which is why we reach out for those phones to like, just quickly order something. But if you really understand food and you understand your own body and how the food reacts with your body, and if you're willing to kind of make those small changes, I'm not saying make complete changes to all your meals overnight, make small changes and kind of journal what it does to your mind and body. That's when you know you're actually heading in the right direction, and it's here to make a habit. So I actually journal every food that goes into my stomach, and this is a practice I've done over the last 1 year. Until then, I used to really kind of eat healthy, but eat pretty much anything. So I write down what I eat. I also write down what it makes me feel when I eat a certain kind of food, and bloating, no bloating, high energy, low energy, and all of that. And then over a period, now I know what my body really likes, and I also try to make it delicious. So it is really about how much you want to make that change, how much you love yourself, how much you love your body, and then it's about training your mind to kind of make it happen over a period of time and not overnight, which is why all of these crash diets never work, right? So it has to be a very conscious effort where the mind plays a huge role.
Okay, so intent and consistency are the two most important things here, right?
100, yeah.
I completely agree with you, and I completely agree with you also on the point that you are aging very gracefully. So we will request you to share that secret with us. So Shamal sir, over to you.
Thank you so much, Anshuman, for having me here. So I'm a scientist, and I approach everything from a very scientific lens. And you mentioned quite a few interesting points in your introduction to this question, uh, and the subject itself can be spoken of not for an hour, but for hours on end.
Well,
So first thing is, yeah. So the first thing is, people need to realize that you're not a byproduct of the food you eat. You're a byproduct of the food your body can digest, right?
okay,
So that means that you can eat the healthiest food on the planet. If you do not have the gut bacteria to break down that food, you're getting absolutely no nutritional value, right? So
okay,
the question is, before you actually try to interpret the food you eat, you need to try to interpret what are the mechanisms in place for your body to digest that. So the way we do this, the way I work with professional athletes and do this, is I do what's called a full genetic transcriptome. So I understand their genes, and then I do a full microbiome transcriptome to understand their microbiome. And then I layer food choices on top of that, because I'm giving people food choices based on what their body can metabolize. Okay. So that's the first thing that someone needs to realize. The interesting thing that you mentioned about sugar, which is a fact, sugar is more addictive than cocaine. But
right,
what is the fundamental question that we need to ask is, how did the human species become so addicted to sugar? You know,
okay,
it became addicted to sugar because we started putting sugar in foods that don't need sugar, and
right,
foods that we didn't expect sugar to be present in. So when you
hmm,
mention Subway, for example, no one who's buying a loaf of bread is expecting sugar in there. When someone
right,
buys pasta sauce, no one's expecting sugar to be in there. You see, and
right,
when you start putting these micro ingredients into foods that people are not expecting, they start consuming it, they start getting addicted to it. So the reason why people should be cooking more at home is because you can see exactly what's going in there, because you cannot trust the ingredients in everything else that you procure outside, because sugar increases the shelf stability of a food, and that's why it actually is there. Okay,
right,
and that's how the human species really and truly became addicted to sugar, was because we started putting it in every single thing. But as a practitioner, I've never eaten meat. I've been a vegetarian my entire life, and predominantly vegan for most of my life, with the exception of ghee. But I am a biohacker, and I work with the world's best athletes. And for the last maybe 12 years, I biohacked the body using technology, science, nutraceuticals. But over the last 4 years, I've transitioned to biohacking the body only using Vedic sciences, which means I
okay,
biohack the body using the 5 elements that Vedic sciences say we can draw energy from. Okay, the
right,
5 elements are earth, fire, water, space, and air. And you can
okay,
consume each one of these and draw energy from it. So, what Vedic
hmm,
sciences are teaching us is that there are few common things. One is that each of these elements will give you energy, right? And
right,
if you consume energy from all of these elements, you wouldn't
hmm,
only rely on food sources for energy. Right.
okay,
Vedic science also says something very, very interesting, that if you study philosophies around the world, the only common thing in all philosophies around the world is fasting. Fasting is the only common thing in every religion, in every philosophy in the world, because
right,
it is a process of detoxification and elimination. Right.
okay,
So it's one of the best, and it's one element of the 5 elements. So when we talk of space, the space element is represented through fasting. Okay. And
okay,
fasting is probably one of the best ways to detoxify the body. See, if you don't eliminate the body of its toxins, you will never get a chance to understand how to optimize its performance. And
right,
one has to precede the other. So the topic that you want to really open up with is quite a complex topic. But I would say that if you really invested in your own health, what you need to be invested in is the research and the data and understanding your body right down on a cellular biology level. Because when you understand your body on a cell biology level, you understand everything else that happens. Otherwise, all you're doing is you're taking fragments of information from nutritionists or dietitians who are probably not as informed as they should be, okay, and you're moving forward on that. We know that we've got addicted to something by trusting a source, and that has led us down the wrong road. So it's very important for each person to be invested in their own health by capturing this data in some shape and form.
Right. So this is something new that I have learned today, that it's not just food that we get energy from. There are other natural sources that we can get energy from. So that's a very good point, sir. And this brings me to the next question, that you have worked with some super athletes, right? And what I want to learn from your experience here is that what is the basic difference between someone who is world's number one, be it in anything, be it in running, be it a cricketer, be it a tennis player, whatever it is. What is the difference between the perception that the world's number one player has with the difference between a normal person? I mean, what is the difference in the perception towards life and towards work? So if you could please shed some light on that.
Yeah, there's only one difference. The difference between the best in the world in any single field and everyone else is that the best in the world accept 100% accountability and responsibility for every thought, every feeling, and every action in their life. That's it. There's nothing different. You know, if you are looking for every time you look for an excuse for why you are in pain or why something is not happening in your life, then you are a victim of an external circumstance. A professional athlete, a successful person, refuses to be the victim of something that is beyond his control. So he accepts 100% accountability and responsibility for his actions. You know, and that is a single most distinguishable difference, because when you accept accountability that something didn't go according to plan and you had a role to play with that, then when you accept accountability, you give yourself the power to change something, to change the outcome, right? But when you looking at an external source as being the reason why something is working or not working, then you are a victim. You're merciless. You're powerless. You know, all you're doing is you're waiting for something else to change. The best in the world don't operate with any other psychology except taking full responsibility for everything. Sometimes, even if it's not their fault, they accept responsibility. And I'll give you an example. You know, I used to travel on the ATP tennis tour for almost 6.5 years with tennis professionals, all the Indian athletes for sure, Sanya, Mahesh, Leander, Rohan, you name it, the Davis Cup team. Hey, and one of the athletes that we always see on tour, the change room's pretty small, and the players, when I traveled to them, they were in the top 10 in the world. So we have a locker room that's generally for all seeded players and everyone's sitting in there. And in there, we used to bump and run shoulders with Rafa Nadal and Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic and stuff very often. Now, if you look at Rafa Nadal, you know, all his fingers are taped up. His ankles are taped up. You can't see it because he's wearing socks. You feel this tape around his fingers, right? Now, he's meticulous about the manner in which he tapes it.
Okay.
Now, when he goes onto court and the taping on his fingers is wrong, he'll pull it out. He'll do it himself. But the next day, he comes half an hour earlier to practice, right? The reason he comes half an hour earlier to practice is not because he's blaming the physiotherapist for taping him wrong. The reason he's coming 30 minutes early is because he's saying, I did not give the physio enough time to do it properly. Now, that is the psychology of a champion.
Wow, that's an amazing lesson, and that's an amazing example for all our viewers. So we have more than 80 viewers right now on Facebook and YouTube. So I would like to take this opportunity to open the floor for questions also. So side by side, our viewers can send in their questions, and we'll try our best to take a couple of questions at least in the last 5-10 minutes. So the next question is for you, Shwetambari ma'am, that like dieting, conscious eating is good for health. We get that, right? But we all know someone in our life who is so obsessed with physical fitness that it has started affecting their mental fitness. So we talk about how to eat healthy food, but we don't talk about uh, how to treat yourself once in a while. So if someone is very passionate about physical fitness and they have a scoop of ice cream, they put themselves into so much of guilt that it starts affecting their mental health. And I have personally seen people who have faced these issues. So how do you suggest can someone maintain a balance between eating consciously and at the same time treating yourself? So I would say treating, not cheating, because once in a while is treating. So how would you suggest? How can someone do that?
There's Anshuman, there's no such thing as cheat meals or cheating or all of that.
Right.
You just eat very consciously because you really respect your body, like I was saying earlier, and you desire to feel a certain way, be a certain way. And when you step out and eat something different from your normal routine, it's just because your mind and body probably crave for it that moment, or you're just rewarding yourself for doing something very, very religiously for a long time. And I think it's absolutely okay.
That's true.
We all, especially if you're very fitness conscious, I am, okay, we eat very right, through the week, through the months, because it's what we want to do. It's not because someone else is pushing us or compelling us to do it, right? We genuinely enjoy feeling a certain way and maintaining this level of fitness. And it's not about your weight being X amount or anything, right? It's about, see, when I do my blood test every 6 months, my levels, my deficiencies, all of that seem all right, seem normal. That's what's important. If I do my BMI or my body composition analysis, I know where my muscle mass stands, where my fat mass stands, all of that. In all this, if you are going to forget how to just keep yourself a little satiated and a little happy by kind of indulging, not every day, obviously, here and there, what's the point of life? It's totally okay. And everyone, even I'm sure even Shayamal's worked with so many athletes and all of that, right? They all have certain, like he said, accountability, responsibility, and all of that towards their own lives, the way they live, the discipline, and etc. But does that mean that they would never indulge, they would never eat something that they're probably not supposed to eat otherwise? Of course not. It's absolutely okay. You just have to kind of sometimes satiate your cravings. It's totally okay. But if you have a goal, or even if you don't have a goal, just to feel good at the end of the day, feel more productive, feel more efficient, you need to just eat more, right? And eat consciously and mindfully, right?
Oh,
Indulging in an ice cream is absolutely all right. So in our world, we don't say you go on a diet. We never use that word. Or we don't
okay.
say give up this food and give up that food. We say you eat clean, you eat right, you eat more mindfully,
Right.
right? And mindful eating is really understanding food and understanding your body.
Okay. Okay. Got your point. So we've been talking about how food affects your physical well-being, and the topic of this discussion is that training your mind and training your body. So let's talk about how food can affect your psychology also. So I've heard a lot of influencers, a lot of renowned speakers who promote veganism and vegetarianism. They say that the food you eat affects your psychology to a great extent. Would you agree to that? And if yes, what can we eat to positively affect our psychology? Shwetambari ma'am.
Somewhere now, in, like I said, in the last 1 year or so, where I have made a lot of conscious changes to my food, I feel like it does make a difference, right? To what extent, the depth of it is something I guess I cannot comment. I'm not in the space of psychology or understanding people's mental space so much. But honestly, it's the energy, right? When you feel high energy right from the time you wake up in the morning with the first breakfast bowl or whatever that you eat that goes into your stomach, there's definitely a lot of endorphins, happy hormones that come out, right? Through good food and through great workout, right?
Right.
So yes, it does make a difference. To what, like I said, to what extent is something that I can't get into. But for me, my cravings have come down ever since I've made that conscious change of eating more mindfully, eating more fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds. And I'm not a vegan, right? And I'm not, trying to promote being a vegetarian or anything, but these are all choices people make because it makes you feel a certain way, right? And when it makes you feel happy, why not stick to it? Right? When it makes you feel good, why not stick to a certain thing? So whether you're a vegan or a vegetarian or non-vegetarian, if it makes you feel good and if your body feels great, if your mind feels great, yes, you just stick to it and you don't have to make those changes.
Okay. Shayamal sir, I'm looking forward to listen to your opinion on this, because you have been a vegetarian ever since and you've been a vegan also. So if you could please shed some light upon this as per your experience has been.
So I very rarely speak from my experience. I speak from a point of science. So I'll give you a little narrative. The University of Lübeck did a beautiful, interesting study. They took 2 sample cohorts of people and they gave them a breakfast that looked exactly the same, and then they placed them into a situation. And I'll give you the situation that they placed them into. I want you to imagine that you are sitting at a table and a stranger walks into the room. Okay. And on the table is $100, and the stranger gets to decide how much they want to give you. Okay. Now the stranger decides to give you only $20 of that $100. Okay. Now you have 2 choices. You can either accept it or reject it. If you accept the $20, you know that you're getting way less than you should have got, and he will walk away with $80, but you'll still get a little bit of money. If you reject the offer, you leave with 0 and he leaves with 0. Okay. Now the University of Lübeck found out that in the 2 sample cohorts that they tested, they gave them a breakfast that looked exactly the same, but it wasn't. One was carb rich and the other was protein rich. And they found out that the people who consumed more protein, were more likely to accept an unfair offer. Okay, and the reason they were able to accept an unfair offer was because they had a higher percentage of a hormone called tyrosine, or an amino acid called tyrosine in their blood, right? And tyrosine is a precursor driver to a dopamine, which is a brain chemical hormone. Okay, dopamine is something that allows you to plan for the future and helps with the neural conductivity of your brain tissue. Okay, so to answer this question from a very scientific point of view, right? Carbohydrates, eating high amounts of carbohydrates is not in the best interest of your brain, right? It's actually protein that helps solidify your brain, increase the integrity of your blood-brain barrier, and impact your decision-making. And the most powerful part of this entire study was that your decisions are being impacted within 30 minutes of you eating food. The way in which you make a decision changes based on what you eat, right? And I think people are not mindful of what they eat because they don't realize how short a time frame it takes before your decisions start getting impacted.
Right. I got your point. That's something that is very good, because I didn't know that having a high protein diet or a high carb diet can really affect the kind of decisions that I make in life. So this is another new thing that I've learned today. So next question is for you, Shwetambari ma'am, and what I want to know is that, first of all, congratulations, you just had a very healthy baby, and congrats to you for that. So the question that I have for you here is in fact for all the female viewers that we have here, and the question is that if a woman is expecting, if a woman is pregnant, what are the kind of things that she can do to kind of cope up with the changes that are going on in her body biologically, and what is it that she can do post pregnancy to kind of make sure that she feels okay, because there are many issues that women face these days, like body image issue, postpartum depression. Obviously we won't get into the details of that, but what I want to know is that, can physical fitness help to kind of at least reduce the stress levels, or what would you suggest to the women out there?
Yeah, the answer to that question can really be one word: movement, right? I think movement is the single most important thing for every human body, whether you're pregnant or not, of course. But I always say, and I've mentioned it in Get Moving as well, that your body is designed to move. And if it was not designed to move, it was designed to sit on a chair, then it would be designed very differently, right? The ankle joint, knee joint, hip joint, the design of the human body itself is made so that you can move more often, move well first, of course, and then move more often. So the
Right.
one thing that I did throughout my pregnancy, and most often, of course, practice what you preach, sort of a thing, is what I do. And the entire pregnancy, I ensured I walked a lot, right? And also because I had to go from my gynac, because in India, the way pregnant women are looked at, and like the caretaking is very different from any other country, right? We don't even allow pregnant women to climb upstairs. We don't allow them to do a normal deep squat. We don't allow them to even bend. But your
Right.
body is supposed to be doing all that, right? So the one thing I would tell every woman, is move more often. You can squat, you can bend, you can climb stairs, and you can walk like 8,000-10,000 steps a day in a normal way. You don't have to necessarily make it like an exercise, and you can incorporate a regular healthy exercise regime, all of course with a go ahead with your gynac. And if you have a personal trainer, someone who understands prenatal, brilliant. But otherwise, just moving and doing what you were doing before, maybe with lesser intensity, is what you
Right.
need to do. You do not need to lay in bed more number of hours because you're pregnant. Yeah, of course,
Okay.
the center of gravity and all of that changes. Your balance as you get into more, further into your trimesters, is kind of sometimes changes, but you are still capable of doing pretty much everything that you were doing before you were pregnant, right? So movement is the answer. Keep moving. We don't need that extra weight. We don't need to get in gestational diabetes. We don't need blood pressure, going haywire. And you don't get all of that if you really focus on movement and eating clean and mindful even during pregnancy. And very
Okay.
quickly on postpartum, of course,
Yeah.
I can't go into depth here, but it is really dependent on what sort of delivery you've had. But again, whichever delivery you've had, especially for Indian women, we don't need to wait for 1 year or two to start movement and exercise postpartum. Okay, you can start as soon as week 2 with really, really easy stuff. Walking, of course, to begin with, and pelvic floor strengthening and things like that, because that's very, very important post delivery with what your pelvic floor has gone through. But otherwise, please start early. Don't allow your weight to just, kind of pile up, which is where, the depression, the irritation, the anger, and all of that comes in. But if you start incorporating meditation or even listening to, calming music and some sort of exercise and walking more often, right from week 2, week 3, or even week 4, you will see that you feel good, right? And you
Right.
feel good, you feel more positive, you feel like more high energy to manage your baby and all of that. And this is purely out of experience that I'm talking
Right.
now, and not just because I'm some fitness trainer and I know differently or I know better. It's just out of experience, and I've really had a peaceful postpartum, although I was very, very well prepared that if I was going to go through anything that was unpleasant, I was ready to seek help, right? Because
Okay.
I was warned about it in the past. But then I realized the moment I started exercising, the moment I started walking more often postpartum, I just felt good, and I was able to handle my entire postpartum a lot better. So movement is very important.
Right, right, right. So for our viewers, this is a golden chance for you. We're getting to learn so much today, and you can clarify all your fitness queries. So do send in your questions. We have some questions here, and I will definitely take a couple of questions in the last 5 minutes. Right. So Shayamal sir,
Sure.
as Ritu mentioned in the beginning of the session, that you have also been a monk for a specific period of time in your life. So I just want you to give us 5 takeaways from your period as a monk. Please just give us the takeaways, if you could please do that.
5 takeaways. Okay. So the first thing is the first one is, I had to wake up every single day. When you move into the ashram, you wake up every day at about 3 a.m. and you do your meditation from 3:30 till about 5:36. Okay.
Okay.
And I had to wake up because when you live in an ashram, everyone is sleeping in a dormitory style. So all the other monks are there. You don't get a chance to really sleep in. Everyone wakes up at the same time, so they wake you up. And
Okay.
to wake up at 3:30 a.m., you need to really get to bed by 8:39 a.m.
Right.
every single day.
Right.
Okay. So the first thing I realized is that, I used to wake up every single day at 3:30 a.m. and I never really was able to stay awake because I didn't commit to getting to bed early enough. Okay. And I spent almost 4 months of waking up at 3 a.m. every single day, right? Even though I was sleeping late. And
Right.
after 4 months, a realization hit me that what am I actually doing? If I need to be at 3 a.m. every single day, I need to make that commitment to getting to bed at 8:30 p.m. in the night every single day to wake
Right.
up efficiently. Now, why this is important is that, people say in the cultivation of a habit, it takes 21 days, it takes 50 days, 100 days. There's no such number as such. You got to stick to something for long enough for it to break you before it actually makes you. Those 4 months, right? I was absolutely broken. I was exhausted every single day. I didn't want to do it, but I had to do it. That process of waking up literally broke me before I understood the importance of going to bed early enough to then get the benefit of actually waking up at that time. So the first lesson is discipline is not sticking to something for 21 or 30 days. Discipline is sticking for something long enough for it to break you before it actually gets a chance to make you. Okay. So the next thing that happens in the temple is, we encourage to eat. We only eat 2 meals a day. Okay. So
Right.
we eat breakfast at 9 a.m. and we eat lunch at 2 p.m. and then that's your food for the day. Okay.
Oh.
So unknowingly, we are fasting. We are cleansing the body, because when you cleanse the body, the mind becomes cleaner. Okay. It's a form of intermittent fasting without me actually knowing it was intermittent fasting at that stage. It's just what Vedic science prescribes. So lesson number 2 is that scriptures have shown us that when the body is clean, the mind has more clarity of thought, more focus, more awareness. Okay.
Right.
So there's no other way to cleanse the body, right, except to get it to detoxify and fast. Right.
Okay.
So make fasting a part and parcel of your lifestyle, because the more you cleanse your body, the greater clarity of thought you're going to get, the more strength you're going to get. You see, there's a big difference between allopathic modern medicine and Vedic sciences. Allopathic modern medicine says that when you are sick, you should eat food, the food gets broken down, it releases energy, and that energy is used to heal you. Vedic sciences says when you're sick, if you eat food, you are drawing on the body's energy resources to break down that food. So when you stop eating, all energy that's available in the body goes towards that healing process. This is why when you're actually sick, you don't feel like eating.
Yes.
You have to force yourself to eat, because naturally the body doesn't want to eat. It doesn't want to direct unnecessary energy to any other process. So fasting is such a validated science that goes back 5,000, 10,000 years, and we need to bring that. So the second lesson that I learned in the ashram was the importance of cleansing the body to cleanse the mind, because your body is really your vehicle. The third interesting thing that happens is that you're asked to encouraged to eat 1 meal by yourself a day. So you eat 2 meals a day, but 1 meal you encourage to eat it by yourself. Okay. And the reason they encourage you to do that is because for 2 reasons. One is you want to practice being in solitude, right? But more importantly, what they're encouraging you is nobody tells you which meal this is. You have to decide which meal it is, and then you have to communicate it to everybody else right there. So you have to make a decision and communication. So the interesting thing that process does is it draws your awareness. It teaches you to make a decision, and then it teaches you to communicate that decision with empathy and compassion to whoever is around you and whatever is doing. So that was another powerful lesson. The interesting thing in any temple that you look at is they talk about the association of elevated devotees as such, or more spiritual people. Okay. Now, spiritual people is how you really grow. You spend your time with mentors, and that's how you learn, and that's how you really grow. Okay. And that was a powerful lesson. You're a byproduct of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Okay.
Right.
So you have to choose very, very wisely who you spend your time with, because you become a byproduct of them. Right? So in the temple, probably the 4th lesson that I'd like to share is become mindful of where you spend your moments.
Okay.
Okay, and who you spend your time with, because you are being cultivated in accordance with all of them. Okay,
Right.
and the fourth lesson is a shloka that I have tattooed on my hand. It's from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's Trinad Api Sunachina. It literally means be as humble as a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree in your service to the Lord. Okay,
Wow.
and why this is so powerful is it's saying be as tolerant as a tree, because in anything that you want to master, you're going to be thrown many different external variables. A tree is tolerant and it stands there in the sun, in the rain, in the storm, in the snow. It is standing there. So be as
Right.
tolerant as a tree. Withstand anything that's thrown at you. Okay. And be as
Okay.
humble as a blade of grass means what? A blade of grass is the lowest thing on the ground. It's not looking down on anything. Right.
Right.
And that's humility, because humility is the foundation of learning. Okay, so that's the fifth lesson that I'd like to share with you. Be as tolerant as a tree and be as humble as a blade of grass in your dedication and service to anything and everything.
Okay. Wow. So I will have to watch this video again because there is so much information to process. And it has been such a pleasure to be in conversation with both of you. So very quickly, I will just take one question from the audience, which is, with the predominance of Western culture, we have also adopted the pattern of eating and dieting. What, according to you, is the importance of simple food like dal, chawal, ghee in keeping a fit physique? So very quickly, sir and ma'am, if you could just give your thoughts on this question.
I think Shayamal should talk about the ghee part, primarily because I heard him mention that ghee is something he's still kept in his food. And it'll be very interesting to know why. Even I would love to know, because my thought on food obviously is really keep it simple, keep it accessible, keep it seasonal and things like that.
Right.
So I would also really, like to
Right.
hear it from Shayamal as to why he's.
Sorry, the audio broke up. You want me to answer? What was the exact question again?
Yeah, so the question is that we have adopted the Western culture where we're eating their food and we're adopting dieting. But what, according to you, is the importance of simple food like dal, chawal, ghee in keeping a fit physique?
Yeah, totally. The best part about the Indian roots and the Indian way of eating is a few things. Let's leave the food aside, right? India has more than 40 different grains of millets, which are all gluten-free. Okay,
Right.
We've lost access to all of these millets. Bringing back millets as an alternative to wheat is one of the best, healthiest decisions you can make. Right now, you're not going to find anything that you buy commercially is wheat laden. Okay, so by consuming it in a Vedic way or consuming things that are made at home, you can make more conscious decisions about that. Right. The second thing is that traditionally food cooked Vedically was cooked on stone or clay pots, because that was how you absorb the energy of the earth. I started my discussion by saying you can absorb energy in 5 different ways: through water you drink and water-rich foods, by sun gazing and eating sun-ripened food, by fasting, by breath work. Pranayama is your air, which is your breathing. And the last is earth. Earth is plant-based foods and cooking in earthen pots. Right? We've lost that art of it. We're now cooking in Teflon grazed things, which become toxic after a while. So doing that, now ghee, for example, is a very, very powerful it's a very powerful fat that lubricates the body, lubricates the skin. And that's why I've retained it in my diet, because I know how it's made. Sometimes now people can question the ethical source of the milk, right? But there are numerous farms, boutique farms out there that are producing high quality ghee, A2 ghee that is ethically sourced. This is a fantastic form of fat, and your body needs fat. Okay. So this is why I've written some form of ghee in my diet as such. Now, there are lots of things that we have lost in this entire process of consuming. And I would encourage people to go about it. But the most important thing is, Anshuman, I'll end with this, right? See, you exercise 1 hour a day, most people. You eat, even if you're eating all your meals, you're eating 5 to 6 times a day. If you maybe 3 big meals, if a nutritionist has told you eat small meals, you eat 5 to 6 times a day. But your mind Your mind has 60,000 thoughts a day.
Right.
60,000 thoughts a day. Now, Vedic sciences tells us that disease can enter the body through one of two ways. It can enter your body through your mouth, by the food you eat and what you drink, or it can enter your body through your brain by the quality of thoughts that you have. Okay,
Right.
so you can be eating the best food, but if you have the most toxic thoughts, you are bound to get sick. Okay, so my advice to everybody is, right, there's a word we've not spoken on and we've not used a lot, and that word is called consciousness. Right, consciousness is the energy you bring forth into the universe, right? The quality of your thoughts. That quality of your thoughts impacts the food, impacts how your food is digested in your body. I would encourage them to draw their awareness to this research by Dr. Masaru Emoto, who spoke of how consciousness changes the molecular layering of a water molecule. You know, he's done research where he spoke harshly to a water molecule and he looked at how it became completely rigid in its structuring. And then he spoke lovingly to another glass of water and he looked at the perfect size of each water molecule. Okay, we replicated that with plants, and we saw that plants who were spoken harshly to died within 7 days, and plants who were spoken lovingly to flourished and grew on to be there. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, food is important, but more important than food is the quality of your thoughts, because it's the quality of your thoughts that is creating toxicity in your body far greater than the food you're eating. And if you can match these two and marry these two, you will never be sick a day in your life.
Okay. So I would like to just end on a very light note, and I would just request you to take 30 seconds each and answer this question. For people like me who say that I live every day like it's my last and we don't follow the physical fitness regime very religiously, if in the last 3 months of your life you were told that you just have 3 months to live, would you still follow the fitness regime that you are following today? Yes or no? Ma'am.
Yes, of course, because I love movement. You know, it's as simple as that. It's what keeps me going. I love movement and I love eating mindfully and consciously. It's just what I enjoy doing. So yes.
Okay, Shayamal sir.
I would totally do it, because it's not just about 3 months. No time frame should be a reason for you to neglect anything in life. Even if you told you only have 24 hours to do, you should live that 24 hours as quality as you possibly can. And remember, the most important thing in life is to live in accordance, to be authentic, live in accordance to your value system, right? And if you live in accordance to your value system, you will be the happiest soul ever, you know?
Right.
So absolutely.
Yeah, so I'm getting some very strong messages from the technical team. We are running out of time, and I still have at least 10 to 15 questions of the audience. So I think, sir and ma'am, we should do a live session again sometime, and we'll definitely discuss some more topics. So it has been such a pleasure to have you with us, Shwetambari ma'am and Shayamal sir. We have learned so much from you.
Pleasure.
I'm sure that all our viewers will revisit this and will rewatch this. This will be available on YouTube and Facebook. So do watch it again. And thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.